is the French funding agencies for research in France. So ANR is funding most universities and public research centers, but also companies on innovation. So today we will present you the first call projects. It's a kickoff meeting of these 13 projects. So I will introduce the topic, and I will ask each project's coordinator or representative of the project to take the floor for 8 minutes plus 2 minutes for questions. And so we will have an overview of all these projects. So next one, please. So Pillar 1 is gathers funding agencies, which are agencies from Europe and Africa, used to fund research, as I said, in France, for example, ANR, and all these agencies committed last year in 2021 for the first call to dedicate some budget to fund projects that we will select that we have been selected in the call. So the project selected through the call are coming from consortiums, gathering partners from Europe and Africa. To be eligible, project should gather 2 partners from both continents. And each agency, this is a very specific scheme, quite similar to ERANET in Europe, which is an instrument from the European Commission. The call is common, but each agency bringing a budget is funding the partners from its own country. And we have above the budget of the funding agencies, a part of the grant of the European Commission, which we usually call a top-up. And this allows to have more projects selected and also to have a wider range of projects. I will come back on this. The topics eligible for the call, 2021 call, were the 6 multi-annual roadmap, which has been already evocated. And these activities in Pillar 1, so coordinating all these agencies, is done by ANR and by the Ministry of Superior Education and Scientific Research from Algeria, and Mokhtar Selami, that you have seen as another hat, I may say, this morning as a chairman of the General Assembly of LEAP-RE, is working with us in order to implement this call. Next one, please. So for the 2021 call, we had 16 funding agencies which commit a budget in order to implement the call. We have 7 agencies from Africa, coming from Algeria, Morocco, South Africa, Togo, and in some countries there is 2 agencies, and Egypt. I was forgetting Egypt. And in Europe, we had also agencies coming from Belgium, from France, from Germany, from Portugal, Spain, Romania, and UK. Next one, please. So we, as I said, responding to a question this morning, the call was a real success. We had 92 eligible proposals, and we selected just 1 year ago 13 projects, 13 proposals to be funded by funding agencies. And these projects represent a global budget above 10 million euros. And from these 10 million euros, about 8 2.4 were funded by agencies, by their own budget, and 2.5 million euros coming from the European Commission budget. These projects, 13 projects, gather 82 partners, 82 teams from Africa and Europe, which are in these 13 projects. And you have here the different countries from which are these teams. So in Europe, in Belgium, France, Finland, Germany, Portugal, Romania, Spain, UK, and in Africa, coming from Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, Togo, Tunisia, South Africa, and also, as you may see, from other countries where there is not funding agencies, mainly from Ethiopia, Mozambique, Nigeria, and Tunisia. In these countries without funding agencies, we use the grant from the European Commission in order to fund these partners, since each agency fund its own national partners. So, for example, in Algeria, it's the Ministry of Research from Algeria, which is funding the Algerian teams, and so for the other. So for we allow, using the grant of the European Commission, to have more participants from Africa than the countries where we had agencies. Okay, next slide, please. So I will not go in the detail of the 13 projects which will be presented, but you have here in this slide on the upper left the number of proposals funded by country, and you see that it's a range and a good equilibrium between Europe and Africa. You have also the funding budget on the right part of the slide, at the upper right. And here also you have a quite equilibrated funding between both continents, slightly more than 50% for Europe, slightly less than 50% for Africa. And you have the number of partners per country here. Next slide, please. So going to the thematics and the topics addressed by the 13 projects, they will be presented, so you will have the detail. But as a whole, you may see that the different projects addressed all the 6 Mars, which were LEAP-RE Mars. And I may say here that we have 2 good surprises in terms of topics, because the Mars 2, for example, which is dedicated to recycling and second life of equipments, which is a very important issue, because you will have more and more renewable energy equipment at the stage of end of life in a few years and in the next decades. And we have 2 projects on this issue, and we were not expecting. And also the topic of cooking and biomass use, which is very often a poor parent, we say in French, a parent pauvre, with a few projects. Here we have 4 projects among the 13 dedicated to this issue. So I think we were very happy to have this decomposition. Next. So to have a very broad and rapid presentation, we classified the different projects that will be presented just after in a few minutes. We'll have first projects on renewable energy modelization and scenarios, which is the MAR 1, the multi-annual roadmap 1. We have the project OASIS, and we will have the presentation in this order. We have 2 projects on, as I said, recycling, the restart projects, and the Sea Revival projects, which are dedicated to recycling. Regarding cooking and biomass transformation, we have 4 projects: Sungari, Toconex Gen, Solar Induce on cooking, and Pyro Biofuel on the transformation of biomass. Going on, we have a topic regarding new renewable energy for Africa. And here it's addressing natural hydrogen, which is a very original issue, but important issue, and the project High Africa. Then we have 2 projects regarding solar cells enhancement and increasing the efficiency through the solar gap of capture. And last but not the least, 3 projects regarding application of renewable energy and productive use of solar energy with MG farm, LED Sol, and Sol Charge E regarding transport and solar energy in transportation. Okay, so next slide. The presentation will be done by each project present today. We have, I think, 2 presenters which will be online, but the others are physically present. The exchange with with LEAP-RE community is very important, and with Pillar 2 project, which will be presented tomorrow. And we are looking to have a rich discussion and the exchange on monitoring and evaluation process. Next one. Just to say that today we will present the first call, 2021 call, but we already are engaged, our Pillar 1, in a second call, which has been launched beginning of July this year, and which has been closed 2 weeks ago, 23rd of September. And this second call gathers the agencies you see here, which commit to fund the projects which will be selected. So I will not, we have new agencies from Austria, for example, and from Italy, which join the agencies. So the projects were submitted end of September and will be definitively selected for funding in March 2023. But at this stage, I cannot give more information. So next one, please. I just... Sorry, to be sure. So regarding evaluation and monitoring, I will ask Marie-Laure Tarot from ANR. Marie-Laure is working with me on this whole process. She's online, and maybe to present these 2 slides on evaluation and monitoring. Yes. I think the technician support will give you the floor, Marie-Laure.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me? So good afternoon, everybody. I hope everything is fine online in Pretoria. So regarding the monitoring and evaluation, I will be brief. So this part is more dedicated only to the Pillar 1 coordinator. So we will ask you to do one annual monitoring following a template that we will provide you in the next month, because it's not hurry now. As you also know or might know, at least it was indicated in the call text, we will do a midterm and final evaluation of your projects. And regarding the template, you have some information here regarding what we will ask for you. So we will ask some key data, which is fixed, for example, the link to the multi-annual roadmap, etc., etc. Some of the data we will use, we'll ask you to fill directly online, and some on Word format. And if you can go to the next slide, you will see the other part as to the dynamic data of the project. So project progress, description of work, first result, etc., etc. Please note that some funding organization can also ask different reports. So I'm only presenting the template regarding what is expected from LEAP-RE program. I think that's all for me. We will contact you with the link of the platform when it's ready. So don't worry for that, we will be in touch with you. If you have questions regarding monitoring, please send an email to the email box Pillar1. We try to use more often. That's it for me. So have a good meeting, and we will let the floor to the coordinator and participant of Pillar1 project.
Yes, thank you. Was it possible that Radwan Hassan could be also one person we could have here in the chat, because he should give the second part of the presentation? In case not, I would give the whole presentation.
Supposed to make the second part?
Radwan Hassan from the University of Helwan in Egypt. I think he should be online here.
In the floor. Go ahead.
Radwan Hassan, University of Helwan. Otherwise, I will give the whole presentation. Maybe we have to. We have to proceed. So actually, it was the idea that we have a European and African team, and he's the work package leader actually of work package 5 in our project, which is capacity building, and it would really have been nice to have him here saying some words. But now I think I will do this since we don't understand. Okay, so let me start with the OASIS project. The OASIS project is a development and demonstration of an open source African EU energy system modeling environment, and we have partners from 7 partners. 4 of them from Africa, which is the Center of the Renewable Energies in Algeria, University of Helwan in Egypt, then the CSIR in South Africa, and University of Venda in South Africa, and the coordinator is a Fraunhofer IEE. The aim of the project is to develop an open source modeling environment for energy system analysis. That means that it's possible to generate scenarios for the future based on energy data one has today, and this should be on different scales. That's an important thing. So this is therefore related to MAR1, which is also including integration of renewable energy system in sustainable energy scenarios, but it's also somehow related to MAA3, because we generate some data that can be used also for standalone systems, and we have some interlinks to MAR4, which is about smart grids. And since you can use this energy system modeling software on different scales, it's possible that you can calculate also a smaller region or even towns, so that can be used for as well for the energy system modeling on this kind of grids, smart grids. The key challenge that we address is at first reliability and availability of data, since in several regions it's not the data where exactly are the, for example, wind and PV and capacities installed. That is something, but you need this kind of data for the energy system modeling as a base. Additionally, one challenge is developing like the whole chain, because we have different kind of modules. that are required. We have, for example, the energy system modeling part, but we also have a part where we generate the data and where we use the generated data to generate time series of renewable energies. So this is somehow one of the major challenges. And at the end, we have the third part, which is the capacity building, since we, of course, have the project, but the thing is one has to install really a long-term cooperation, and we have to find a way to disseminate the project result and that they can last, of course, longer than the project, and so they can have some sustainable development. The result we expect are in end of 2023, the midterm results. At first, we have then the whole approach, how exactly this kind of modeling chain environment will work. That is somehow really then framed. Then we have the methods for the PV and wind energy detection, because this kind of renewable data is something we need. So we will do this using satellite images and machine learning. And there we have the approach, and then to detect this kind of data and to have it as an input in the modeling data. And then we have to generate from this kind of knowing where the renewable energy sources are to calculate the time series of wind power and PV input that is required. Then we have at the end of the project, we have this kind of workflow, which is a programmed thing, and everyone can go and use it. So you can calculate one's own scenarios on different levels. Everything is open source, and this should be available not only during the project, but something on a long-term data strategy and the data we generate, but not only the data, but also, of course, the methods and the models, so that people can really use this. And we will have some demonstration cases. That means case studies for different spatial scales. And at the end, of course, we will have something that is strengthening the cooperation between Europe and Africa, and especially within the team. But we also hope, and this is a good thing today, that we have this meeting, that we find also other partners for future work. Yes, by the end of the project with Alison. The outcomes that we expect are that people who want to do system analysis can go and use this kind of tools, and then using the tools, it will be possible to make some local, for example, country-wide studies to really support policymakers to make decisions for the future, to plan the energy system, to know how much storage, for example, they need, or where they have to put further electricity grids, and this kind of knowledge, and also like what are the potentials in the region, how can we combine the different renewable energy sources, and yes. Then we have the thing like this all, I mean, that's the whole framework, but it all contributes somehow to pave the way to the African and EU clean and sustainable energy policy, and of course not only but also the partnership to get this kind of sustainable energy future. The main risk we have, I mean, we have on the one hand we have the scientific complexity, we have the amount of data that is required and that is brought in this kind of modeling. We have interfaces between different models. We have on the one side, for example, for the energy system modeling, we have this Arena Flex tool, which is developed by VTT in Finland. But of course, the data we generate in other work packages have to somehow go into that and fit there. And so we have let's say the links between the different modules. Then we have the capacity building, which is something because we are at different regions, and sometimes we have, of course, still some Corona things, but also traveling costs somehow, that we will do a lot of things online, and we have to see how this is working. And then, of course, something which is a challenge is to get trained staff that is able to do this complex kind of research. So the contribution to the African and EU cooperation is this really, as I said already, this modular thing, especially the integration that people are able to use it themselves, and then yes, also like to use, because this kind of studies will help to define the energy system of the future and also make it possible to detect new business models and also economic, because you need this kind of scenarios to look in the future and find this kind of business models, and of course to have the political skills. So we, of course, are very much interested in the collaboration. We have we have somehow, as I said, already some links to other MARs, and especially University of Helwan, who is the work package leader, is already a member of the first Egyptian Renewable Energy Center initiative. And this is also something that is really a strong link to Egypt as well. Okay, from this, I would like to, yes, thank you, and maybe you have some questions.
Yes, for this presentation. Sorry, you have to cut maybe the microphone of Kalies, otherwise there is some echo. So if there is, we are short of time, but if there is one question for Kalies, I look in the room, or in case you have on the online. There is one question. Let's just present you.
Yes, okay. So Jean-Pierre Favenec, President of the Association for the Development of Energy in Africa. My question is just a question of understanding. I'm not sure I very well understood everything. I understand that the objective of your project is to set up a system which identifies wind and sources of wind energy and solar energy. And after that, in order to identify all the data coming from these sources, in order to make forecast of the energy coming from wind and from solar systems in your country. Is it right? This is my question.
Actually,
Give
it's
back the microphone to Kalies. Thanks.
Yes. Actually, it's like we would like to have this kind of modeling chain where you can do your energy scenarios for the future. So for the future scenarios, you need the state today, where you have the, for example, renewables, and where you have also power plant and which amount of them. And then if you want to see how in the future, for example, you can have 100% renewable energy scenario, where is your potential, where do you have to install the devices, and then you to go to a time series, like to really know when you have which kind of wind and PV and this for the future scenario, then to have like something like planning of your energy system. That's actually, it's not short-term forecasting like the wind tomorrow is like 10 meters per second as you get in mind, but it's really like on a long-term scenarios to do energy transition. I hope that is more clarifying. So it's really energy system modeling.
Don't have more time for other questions. We will go to the next project. The project Restart is one of the two projects on recycling and second life of equipment, of renewable energy equipment. And the presentation will be done by Ismail Sadoun from Morocco.
Thank you all for this organization, for this meeting. Unfortunately, I cannot be. I was not able to participate to this Pretoria meeting, but we'll try to present our project. I have my colleague on seat, so you can discuss with him for the tomorrow meeting. So I am coordinating the project Restart, which is a recycling of spent lithium-ion battery and like photovoltaic panel for the development of new and fresh battery and to implement a startup. Before going later, just you know that since the production of the first lithium-ion battery by Sony in 1991, there is a huge number of produced battery, but also a huge number of electronic waste and offline batteries. Just to give you an idea, for example, just only China in 2030, they will produce like 2 million metric tons of wasted lithium-ion batteries. This means that you will have two big issues. One will be the scarcity of raw material needed for development of new batteries. And second issue will be the environmental impact of wasted batteries, but because, as you know, in the battery, lithium-ion battery, there are some high value metals, but also some hazardous material like organics, polymers, and so on. So this project, which is composed from Qadi Iyad University, Morocco, as the coordinator of this consortium, but also we have people from King Salman International University, from Egypt, from Aalto University, from Finland, and from CERIGE, is the Centre Européen de Recherche et d'Enseignement des Géosciences en Ile-de-France de France. We have also Mohammed VI Polytechnic University and UNG Park, not so far from Marrakesh, about 50 kilometers from Marrakesh. And we have this BBU University from Romania. The aim of the project is to implement a full value chain of recycling end-of-life battery. It's like shifting from linear economy to circular economy, and the specific objectives are to implement a procedure to collect end-of-life battery, to recycle, to develop some process, and then to implement restart by using some business model and life cycle assessment and so on. See, it's like the project is divided in two parts. One hard part is scientific experimental by using some process, some chemical procedures, and some soft part, which is development of life cycle assessment, some business model, and also the implementation of startup. So what is the relevance with the Mars? We try to do this when submitting our projects. This is a proposal of method from end-of-life component recycling, identification of second life component with a benefit for African countries, and dissemination of acquired knowledge, because in Morocco, for example, we don't have this knowledge in some life cycle assessment. We need some experience, some expertise. This will come from Finland. They have a good experience. And the main thing is the creation of jobs by creating the startup and replicate this startup in Morocco, but also in Africa. It would be really a good opportunity to create jobs. So, and also to promote the environmental and ecological sustainability, which is very important for our future development. So by following the template given by Restart in my presentation, the key challenge addressed by the project is first the collection, the assembling and calculation of end-of-life lithium battery and PV. As you know, now in Morocco, we don't have this regulation how to collect end-of-life battery. We try with the Ministry of Environment to implement some procedure to collect end-of-life lithium-ion battery. And secondly, we will develop some technology and scale-up of metal recovery process, and also to demonstrate the feasibility of the project by using the recovered material to build fresh batteries and test in the lab to see and to compare with the commercial one and to see the efficiency of our recovery process. Fourth, sustainability by implementing the approach of life cycle assessment of model collection and handling protocols, and the economy business, because we are aiming to implement a startup, so the economy business will be based on the best cost performance recycling process. Dissemination of the project, we are doing that during this meeting, but also we will publish, we will put some patent and so on. And at the end, it will be like la cerise sur le gâteau, as the French said, the implementation of the startups. So it is expected results at midterm, end of 2023. We will try. It's really difficult to start. Maybe we will have the opportunity to discuss about this because there are some shifts between the agency providing funds for the project, but we try to do our best to deliver at the end of 2023 the characterization, specification of metal and product contained in some batteries, development of efficient metal process, and development of fresh lithium-ion batteries. So this is first part will be like a confirmation or the validation of the process. And the end of the project, we will implement the proof of concept, simulation and development of large reactor, analysis of impact, life cycle assessment, techno-economic assessment, and development of business model. So expected outcomes in case of success of the project, inshallah, as we said, first creation of startup devoted to recycling activities. There are no activities in Morocco on that. In Africa also, there are not too many activities, industrial activities on recycling. Secondly, possibility for replication in Africa, creation of jobs, boosting the international visibility, recognition of the consortium, because we try to make some advantage for our expertise to be more visible in international point of view. And 5, promotion of environmental and ecological sustainability, which aim risk of failure during the project implementation. So delays, as I said before, delays and or low quality of input from project partners. This could be a risk. COVID, we don't know now, hopefully COVID is away, but if there's some pandemic problem also, we should, this was a risk during the presentation of the project, but we present some solution to overcome this issue. One or more partners leave the project, so we should find a new partner to replace it, and scientific and technical issues related to the project. So contribution of the project to our R&D cooperation. So restart concern R&D activity in relation with climate change and sustainable energy. So this is really important. Capacity for joint research. We are complementary expertise to conduct high quality joint research. As you will see in the consortium, as I said before, they are complemented from hard development of process to soft development by life cycle assessment and economic and business models. Capacity for joint research, complementary, as I said. Scalability of R&D impact or at national or regional state. Restart will implement a holistic approach that combines technical and business development, and we will ensure scalability and applicability in the process, both in Morocco, but also in Africa, and why not in Europe. Interest of consortium member, in particular to LEAP. So our aim, as I discussed with my partner present on site, we will try to develop lithium-ion batteries starting from African mineral resource. We are experts in lithium-ion batteries, so we can have some connection with a partner in Africa that produce some cobalt, nickel, manganese, graphite, and so on, to develop lithium-ion battery and to make some valorization of African mineral resource. So also to discuss some process for e-waste recycling. Now, the most used recycling process is hydrometallurgic, but there are some new, soft, and sustainable process to discuss. Co-supervision of PhD students, this is very important for the future, for our young people. And also sharing some issue to the project management would be very important to share our problem, national problem, but also within the consortium problem. So that said, I have nothing to say more, but I'm open. My email is on site. You can send a question or discussion, but I will have 2 minutes also to answer to your question. Thank you very much for organizing this, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ismail, for your very clear presentation. So if there is question, I look at the room in Pretoria, but it will be online. You see.
Okay, so sorry to take the second time. It's just a very short question. Thank you first for your presentation, which was very clear.
From Jean-Pierre Favnet, sorry, Jean-Pierre, I interrupt you. Jean-Pierre is also a member of the Scientific Advisory Board.
That's why I'm here.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So my question is very simple. I was told from perhaps bad information, it was what you are trying to do is extremely difficult. I mean, to recover from used batteries or used different devices, the rare metals, the rare elements that you have this. So do you have an objective in terms of percentage of recovery of this from batteries from any other device? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. We start our project by using battery from electrical vehicle implemented in Marrakesh, some e-scooter. So we recover their end-of-life batteries, which is very contains a lot of mineral. Now the process, we succeed. We will publish a paper soon. We succeed to get like 90% of material inside. I mean lithium, cobalt, nickel, and manganese, and also aluminium. But the problem, we cannot have an overall area, because in Marrakesh, I'm working in Marrakesh in Morocco, we are trying with the Ministry of Environment and for Trade also to try to implement some procedure to collect whole end-of-life batteries. So if we implement our recycling process with high efficiency, we can recover a lot and we can make money and create a job of that.
Thank you very much for this response. I think one thing you may report in the future, because you are just beginning the project, is how do you see, in case of success of the solution you are experimenting, how you will engage discussion with the industry in order to scale up the issues. I know you have a startup in the consortium, but I think you will need a big industry to implement. But I think unless you have something to say rapidly about that.
Yeah. Good question. I am seeing after 2 or 3 years the difficulty coming because the stakeholders are difficult to move sometimes to put some investment on this idea of project. But anyway, with our mayor of Marrakesh and our president of university, we are pushing the things. It's very difficult, but it will, inshallah, will succeed. Inshallah, as I said.
Thank you.
Thank you again. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, of course, the coordinators of the LEAP-RE initiative to let us the chance to contribute to this project. So just to remind you, CREVIVAL stands for silicon-based devices for renewable energy, and it takes from end-of-life recycling to revival of photovoltaic modules. So can you put the next slide, please, where I'll present the consortium and the main aim of the project and the relevance to the multi-annual roadmap. So basically, you understood that this consortium is composed from Université Catholique de Louvain in Belgium, but we also have partners in France. This is Institut d'électronique et microélectronique et de nanotechnologie in Lille. We have partners from Africa. It is the Centre de Recherche et Technologie des Semi-Conducteurs pour l'énergétique in Algeria. And we have 2 partners from Tunisia, l'École nationale supérieure d'ingénieurs de Tunis and Centre de Recherche et de Technologie de l'énergie. And donc, basically, what this project aims is the reduction of the environmental impact of end-of-life or spent photovoltaic modules. Our interest, of course, is first to recover the materials, then to recycle part of these recovered materials, in particular the silicon, and with this material to build new devices. Here we have a specific focus on supercapacitors and eventually integrate them back into novel photovoltaic cells and module in order to meet instantaneous power generation and delivery in this new build system. So if you remember well, this multi-annual roadmaps, you understand that this very close to low TRL activities link chemistry, physics, and engineering, basically to take spent or end-of-life renewables like photovoltaic panels, so renewable energy components, and basically to build smart standalone system to ease the access to energy in all of its form. And this is the second multi-annual roadmap we are tackling into this project. Can you switch to the next slide, please? So the work packages which are technological and let us to develop this project are very simple. So basically we start with the recovery of materials, then we'll do the recycling process and the material transformation, then we'll build the devices, and in the end, we'll try to integrate them into a system. So basically we have a couple of challenges and milestones we would like to go through. So first of all is the recycling and recovery of the materials. And here we announced that we like to have a recovery of at least 85% of overall efficiency. Then we'll build specific components of these devices for energy storage for the supercapacitors. We are focusing on ionogels. So we are talking about all solid state supercapacitors. So we are building these ionogels with dynamic covalent chemistry. We have this large temperature operational window and self-healing capabilities. And then, of course, with the other materials built for the electrodes, we'll create these new novel architectures for all solid state micro supercapacitors. And as you imagine, the expected results are basically creating a database of new materials, architectures for these solid state micro supercapacitors, to document these recycling protocols for end of life photovoltaic panels. And in the end, we like to have this system integration where we have these new devices built with recycled materials coupled together with new photovoltaic modules. So basically, if you think now at the expected outcomes in, I would say, medium term, so of course, even if we didn't stress this out into the project, it is within our capabilities because we are belonging to institutions which have a strong activity in digital technologies. So basically, we'll try to make sure that we have all this traceability of the photovoltaic panels across the full value chain, from recovery to transformation. Then we can think of different smart methods to inspect these novel photovoltaic panels to maximize productivity. And of course, the collection of this end-of-life photovoltaic panels. And because our main tasks are related to recovery and recycling, we'll also try to come up with some ideas and real, I would say, facts about automatic and ultra-fast processes of recycling and optimize parts of this activity. There are risks because I told you that we are doing a bit of fundamental science, so low level technological readiness level. So maybe we'll not be able to transform this recovered silicon into the material we like to have with all functionality, porosity, and so on. Probably we'll have to face, because this is an activity also very, well taken by the industry, to come with, new concepts which can make, I would say, success to the market. And of course, then when we speak about the system integration, we have to be careful about what type of final application we like to have, because then this could limit a bit our possibility of having a system which works, as expected. So basically, we think that we'll use this project to enhance the scientific collaboration between actors in the energy sector in Europe and Africa. It's basically a project about capacity building in terms of infrastructure and internalizations of scientific activities of partners. And I would say we have strong interest in this clustering with other projects into the Pillar 1 and Pillar 2. We have, I would say, a strong interest in this life cycle analysis modeling. Also, it's a minor task in our project, but it can become a bit, I would say, could be emphasized. Of course, we are interested on-site experimentation in Africa because this was what was planned, and we will try to have this demonstration in Tunisia specifically. And of course, because we are producing data, we are very interested in having a very well, I would say, structured, curated, aggregated data sets, and we are happy to share our data with all of you. With that, thank you for your attention, and don't hesitate to contact me.
Okay, thank you Thank you very much. So if there is question, maybe in priority, the advisory board members, or the assistants also, and online. Present to briefly.
A question here from the not online. So I would like to know whether this process, obviously recycling is a must. We can say, okay, it's too expensive, I don't buy, because it has to be part of the life cycle of everything we do, isn't it? But my question is still stands, is this a negative economically activity or what you manage to recycle can pay for the work you have done in recycling?
This is a very difficult question to answer. It's very pertinent. So to give you an example, so basically here, our main task is to recycling in Africa. Okay, so it is Algeria which is really involved into this recycling activity. We also will do things in Europe. Okay, but already I can tell you that it's very hard to answer the question because the sources of what you recycle are very different. Algeria is recycling solar panels from Arco Industries built in the 80s, monocrystalline solar cells. This is very different from what we recycle in Belgium and Europe, which are polycrystalline done by German companies and so on. So it's very hard first to understand what has been done 30 years ago when there was no traceability about this product. What we'll do the reverse. Starting from what we'll know that we have as a recycling, what it will be the prediction to build new devices across their lifespan and the recycling again. But to go back into the, 30 years ago when these devices were built, this is a very difficult task. Sometimes you didn't have a label to know what you are recycling. So we'll do our best, but you understood, we take from the recycling and we start to rebuild for the future. But knowing what has been done to the panels we are having now, end of life, basically is very little traceability. And if somebody tells me that he knows, I would like to discuss with him because we don't really know what is there inside. So we know the general things inside, but there is no such real, evaluation of what was the cost to achieve that type of product. I hope I respond a bit to your question.
Thank you, Sorin, very much. Very interesting, very promising. Okay, so we are following. I keep the read. So maybe you next slide, please. We will be now on a set of 4 projects dealing with the issues of biomass and cooking. So mainly the MAR 6, clean cooking issues, but also transformation of biomass and agriculture product for food. So as I said, we are very interested to have a very good project on this topic. So the first one which will be presented is a pyro biofuel. It will be the coordinator of the project is Egypt, Fatma Ashur, but the presenter today will be Professor Tokozani, Majosi, sorry, Majosi. Professor, I think he's in the room. Yes, so welcome for the presentation of this project going with pyrolysis. So you have the floor. You ask for the following slide for the technician. No, go ahead. Stay there. But in order to see the slide yourself, to
Yes, I'll try to stick to time. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so this is the project that involves 5 countries or partners. The coordinator is based in Egypt, Professor Fatima Ashra. Unfortunately, she could not join us this afternoon, and she has requested that I do some justice to this kind of project we are doing together. So the partners will be Cairo, and we've got partners also in Morocco. I come from the University of Witwatersrand in South Africa, which is here in South Africa. And then we also have partners in Germany and France. The aim of the project really is to create a unique knowledge infrastructure that would support decentralized, sustainable, and cost-efficient conversion of biomass to sustainable fuels, which is relevant, by the way, to both Europe and Africa. We've got a lot of biomass in both continents, and most of it is not used effectively. And we're trying to explore avenues of using this surplus biomass to the benefit of both these continents. So the idea here is to design a module which we've called a pyro biofuel. And the idea is to validate innovative processing technologies. This will include the typical Fischer-Tropsch reaction or synthesis, which is well known for hydrocarbon processing, mainly for the production of syngas, as well as looking at the design and modeling of hydrocracking reactor that will increase the efficiency of fuel conversion in the process. So these are some of the expected results, and I'm not going to read through that because of time, but the whole idea, I'll just highlight a few that are very, very important there. We would like to look at the implementation of the design catalyst into the reactor at lab scale. We also will be doing some modeling that will be done mainly at Wits University, numerical modeling of the process, which will allow optimal cost products, the cost of products, output, as well as efficiency in the calculation for life cycle analysis. There will also be an experimental setup, which I'm going to show to you, which is going to be the test model of validation platform for the model. I will use. So some of the challenges that we're trying to address here, very straightforward, is just to increase the availability of advanced biofuels and energy in both EU and Africa through reliable, inexpensive, and this modular reactor that we are designing. And also we're looking at the introduction of tailored technologies using local renewable resources, mainly biomass, because that's the one that we have, and for local use of population and economy. We're also looking at strengthening the European and African technology base to accelerate development of sustainable fuels to replace fossil alternatives. I think we all know the challenges with fossil fuels at the moment, and we're trying to explore avenues of either minimizing or eliminating fossil fuels altogether. And lastly, we're looking at the development of technical and managerial competencies and capabilities or capacities in the area of biomass conversion and renewable energy generation. So these are some of the results in the midterm and the end of project that we expect. So midterm till about the end of 2023, and then end of term, that should be the end of 2025. We are already making some progress in this area. So we aim that by the end of 2023, we should be able to have succeeded in optimization of treatment techniques for palm waste in Egypt and Morocco. Those two countries are rich in palm waste. We also think that by the end of 2023, we will have succeeded in the synthesis, characterization, and optimization of highly efficient catalysts for the Fischer-Tropsch synthesis, in particular, as well as the hydrocracking reactor and bifunctional hybrid of the two, which is the Fischer-Tropsch synthesis and the hydrocracking reactor at small scale. We also think that we might succeed, that in fact, we are on the right trajectory to success in terms of development of a combined experimental modeling approach for the microchannel reactors for integrated Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. For integrated Fischer-Tropsch synthesis, this is the problem of being short. For integrated Fischer-Tropsch synthesis and the hydrocracking reactor. We also are busy with the techno-economic analysis and life cycle assessment loan. In fact, the second bullet and the third bullet, that's mainly Germany and South Africa. The first bullet and the last bullet, that's mainly Egypt and Morocco. And 2 minutes left. And then at the end of the project, we aim to have achieved the 3 outputs, synthesis and characterization of highly efficient reactor, We are already designing that reactor. Because of time, I couldn't show you. We've already designed this reactor at a preliminary scale that is going to be able to achieve this. And we already have some preliminary results. What we have not done is optimization of the process. So the next slide, go to the next slide. That's where I was. Actually, I'm not going to read this slide here. That is what I was reading. I skipped the previous slide, but basically, this is what we expect also at the end of the project in 2025. The numerical modeling, which you see in the third slide there, that will be done mainly in Germany. So those are the colleagues in Germany who are very strong in modeling. And then we're also looking at the successful completion of a few PhD theses. We already have postdocs working in this area. We have PhD students working in this area and master's students that are working in this area. And then if you go to the last slide, and then these are some of the expected outcomes in case of success of the project. This is now in 2030. In the main, the impact of the project at 2030 on the economy and society in case of scaling up the results of the project. As I said, at the moment, we are looking at a small scale. So it's a modular reactor of a very, very small capacity at this stage, but we're aiming to scale that up by the end of the project. And the scale up should be completed by end of 2020. So this could be the impact then of these new market opportunities, you know, the carbon footprint reduction for greenhouse gas emissions, the wider availability of energy, reduced time collecting fuel, reduced home labor for women, can pursue other activities, health benefits as well of clean energy. And lastly, development of technology advances that significantly contribute to increasing the viability of advanced power fuels and energy, both in EU and Africa. And of course, there are risks that are associated with this, like any other project. We are now dealing with the acquisition of the experimental setup. What we've done is we have a preliminary setup that is at Wits University, and we are acquiring state-of-the-art equipment that will be able to do the pyrolysis from China at this stage, and we're expecting to have that in the next 2 months or so. There could be issues with the low performance of equipment. We are experiencing that with the preliminary design, but we don't expect that with the final design, as well as the other challenges there, which are typical of any other projects. I'm not going to read through those. If you continue. And then the contribution of the project to the EU R&D cooperation. We think that the main contribution here will be exchange of knowledge through targeted research activities between partners from the EU and Africa to develop the technology for the state-of-the-art technology to strengthen the European African technology base and accelerate the development of sustainable fuels to replace fossil alternatives. And the interest of consortium members in participating in this particular activity, these are the interests. In fact, I've already mentioned all of those. I want to reiterate this. These are the interests behind this. But in the main, really we want to advance our modeling skills in a very complex pyrolysis process, but also be able to design a hybrid Fischer-Tropsch synthesis and hydrocracking unit at the same time. So just move on then to the next slide. Yeah, that should be it. I'm sorry, did I stick to time ultimately?
Thank you very much. So we will ask there is question. First, yes, for Jean-Pierre. Jean-Pierre Fadnek from the Scientific Advisory Board.
Thank you very much for this presentation. It's a curiosity question. You talk, in fact, you refer mainly to the Fischer-Tropsch synthesis. And so we can call this also biomass to liquids technologies that you want to develop. My question is, I repeat, curiosity. We are in a country in South Africa, which is probably the country today which has the best experience in so-called X to liquids, coal to liquids, gas to liquids, etc. technology. You are working in the Wits University. Probably you have contacts with Sasol. So I would like to know, because Sasol is probably very much developed all this. So can you elaborate a bit on your relation with Sasol, for instance? Thank you.
In fact, that's a very, very good point. I'm glad that you've raised that. Indeed, South Africa is a leader in Fischer-Tropsch space on coal to liquids. At some point, actually, for a long time, South Africa was the only country with the commercializable coal to liquids facility before China. came a few years ago. So we are working very closely with Sasol because Sasol is also moving in this direction. Coal is now a risk resource. So they're looking at opportunities of using alternative means of producing syngas. So they're very much into this as well. So they're fully involved.
Yes, there is another question. I think well, from my point of view that the issue will be also the downsizing of the investments and the technology in order to be in a remote area, well functioning. Yes. Yes. I don't see other questions. Thank you very much. So next project we will present is StoConnext Gen. It's a project on cooking, clean cooking issues. Germany is leading this project, and the presentation will be done by Johannes Christoph Tatzler. I think he's on site.
Yes, so my name is Johannes Sattler. I'm from the Aachen University of Applied Sciences, and I'm very happy to present to you the project StoConnext Gen. Right, so we have altogether 7 project partners from 5 different countries. So on the German side, there's the Solar Institute Jülich, which is an institute from the Aachen University of Applied Sciences, which is where I'm working, and we are project coordinator. And then we also have 2 German project partners, the Engineering Bureau for Energy and Environmental Technologies, and a company called Low-Tech. From Algeria, we have the Centre de Développement d'Énergies Renovables as project partners. Then from Portugal, we have the Universidade de Évora. From Morocco, we have the University Mohamed Premier Oujda. And finally, from Tunisia, the Université de Tunis El Manar as project partners. So coming to the aim of the project, in StoConnext Gen, we aim to develop secure, reliable, easy to use, and environmentally friendly indoor solar cooking technologies for the use in domestic environments, so in homes, for example. And altogether, 4 different solar indoor cookers with energy storage, powered by solar thermal collectors and or photovoltaic panels shall be built and tested. So let me now just give you a few more details about the solar cookers, which shall be developed in the project. The first solar cooker shall be powered by solar photovoltaic panels, and it will also have a thermal energy storage in order to allow flexible cooking. But also there will be a small electric battery storage. And for this type of cooker, as storage medium, we want to use sand for the thermal energy storage. And sand is a good medium because it's easily available in all the countries. It's very cheap and safe to use. Then the second solar cooker, which we are developing, is basically this very similar to the first solar cooker, except that here we are using, instead of photovoltaic, we are using solar thermal collectors, so probably flat plate collectors or vacuum tube collectors, and electrical components are hopefully not required. So this second solar cooker shall also be tested with a small size public trough collector because it's also easily compatible with that. Then the third solar cooker, which we are designing in the project, is a hybrid cooker, which works both with solar photovoltaic as well as solar thermal collectors, but it does not have a thermal energy storage. And then finally, the fourth solar cooker shall be powered solely by photovoltaic panels, and it also will be equipped with an electrical battery storage with about 10 kilowatt hours of capacity. So the electrical battery storage should provide electricity for cooking, but also for small household electric appliances. So for example, one can also use it for lighting. Yeah, the cooking pots and pans are heated by contact heating on a photovoltaic powered electric cooktop. Regarding the relevance versus mass, so this is all within MAR6, innovative solutions for priority domestic uses, so clean cooking and cold chain. So coming to the key challenges addressed by the project. So one challenge to be addressed is the acceptance level among the end users of the solar cookers. And therefore, it is important to educate about cost savings on gas and firewood. As the second point, the solar cookers shall lead to a replacement of stoves emitting unhealthy smoke and help to reduce the danger of burning skin, which can, for example, occur when children touch a hot stove. The third point would be that the solar cookers can bring relief for people, especially those living in remote, dry regions of North Africa, where there's a high solar irradiance. Also, the use of solar cooker technology shall reduce the time and effort primarily for women and children for collecting firewood. Regarding the expected results in the midterm by the end of 2023. So by then, functional tests shall be completed in Germany for 3 solar cooker types, and a functional test shall be completed for the 4th cooker in Morocco, which is the electric cooker with electric battery storage. Also, by the end of 2023, the shipment of 3 types of solar cookers from Germany to partners in Tunisia, Algeria, and Portugal shall be completed. Then we shall also have held a commissioning workshop by end of 2023, which shall take place in Tunisia. So that basically by the end of 2023, we hope to have all 4 solar cookers installed in altogether 4 countries, in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Portugal, for further testing. And then coming to the expected results by the end of the project in 2025. So what is very important in the project is to involve test cookers so that we also get a user feedback from people cooking any dish they want using the solar cookers. And with the feedback, we also have information we need to see if this type of solar cooking technology can be successful or not. We also want to have held talks with a company for the production and distribution of the solar cookers by the end of the project. Another very important aspect in the project is the development of a standard testing procedure, which aims at having a clear comparison of the different technological approaches used for the 4 solar cooker prototypes, and that with the standard testing procedure, we enable a proper characterization of each of the solar cooker prototypes according to having objective performance and usability criteria. And then, of course, by the end of the project, we want to have shown that with these 4 solar cookers, it is possible to prepare the traditional dishes and food products while also addressing the very important point of having cooking flexibility with the use of the storage units, so that it shall be possible for people to also cook after sunset, in the nights, or even also in the early morning hours before sunrise.
Please,
what we are also, sorry? So what we are also doing in this project is to hold 2 dissemination workshops, which is extremely important to involve the public and stakeholders and politicians and the media to show the results we achieved in the projects on the solar cookers. Coming to expected outcomes, in case of success of the project in 2030. So the user can expect in the long term saving fossil fuel costs if a solar cooker is purchased. What we also expect is a relief to nature, also in terms of seeing less deforestation. Then there shall be a relief to rural communities regarding the reduction in pollution, i.e., if fossil-fired stoves which produce smoke are replaced by a solar solution, would be very important regarding improving health in the long term. Then education is also a very important aspect, as well as a relief of daily life issues when using such a solar solution. And last but not least, an infrastructure is also very important in the long term, so that these solar cookers can be constructed and sold locally. Coming to the risks of the project, so for example, a risk can be the possibility in a lack of interest from test users of the solar cookers. This can occur because, for example, the tradition of using firewood is so strong that the solar solution is not really accepted by people, or maybe from other stakeholders. Then regarding building the solar cookers, there's of course the the potential risk of long lead times for procuring essential components during the construction phase. As we all know, the world is in a lot of problems in this time. And finally, another issue to point out could be that once the solar cookers are constructed and tested and everything, that the cost is simply too high for the common people, and for that reason, it's important to identify if, for example, microcredits or other funding options could be available for people, so that they would be able to purchase a solar cooker. Regarding contribution to AU-EU R&D cooperation, so in the long term, we are looking at the creation of jobs, for example, through the granting of manufacturing licenses to local companies in Africa. Then another contribution is the education of people, such as end users, students, technicians, NGOs, etc., via via training, workshops, and university lectures or courses on the topic of solar cookers, in North Africa and Europe, and this will lead to knowledge transfer and capacity building. Then there's also a strengthening of collaboration between involved universities and companies to conduct research in future projects. And finally, what I also already mentioned before, having dissemination workshops can lead to further collaborations with invited companies and NGOs, etc. For example, for manufacturing the solar cookers, or for realizing financing solutions for the common people. And then finally, regarding interest in consortium members and participating in LEAP-RE clustering activities, we are very open with our consortium to hear about topics from other LEAP-RE projects. And if there is options for collaborating in other fields in the future, we'd be very open to that, of course. We have a wide field of scientific contribution we could add. So yes, it's very interesting to see what is going to be shared in the next days during this stakeholder forum. And with that, I would like to conclude the presentation, and thank you very much. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So, we are overwhelming the time, but if there is a short question, of course I will take it. Yes? From the room here in Pretoria. Just a second.
Thanks for the presentation. It's actually a very interesting research project. Just a point of concern for me is that this clean cooking is very essential, especially on sub-Saharan Africa. But I see that the majority of the institutions that are involved in research on the African part are mainly from North Africa, where energy access there is essentially almost close to 100%. So this would have been very relevant considering sub-Saharan African institutions. I would have been happy to see sub-Saharan African research institutions involved so that they could give also some practical examples on clean cooking. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
A very concise answer.
So if I understand correctly, the question is if sub-Saharan countries can also be involved, or maybe then I didn't quite understand the question. Could I maybe have a repetition on the question? So we have North African partners involved, but we haven't currently involved any sub-Saharan countries. That's correct. But I didn't quite understand the question.
It would have been quite helpful to get sub-Saharan African institutions involved, because this is where clean cooking is really lacking.
Yeah, okay. So maybe I can take a note of that regarding our dissemination workshops, because we have two dissemination workshops, so that we could perhaps invite, for example, university members from sub-Saharan countries to participate there. I think that'd be quite useful. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Javier Aranceta, it's a project coordinated by Spain. Javier, yes, you're welcome. Javier is here in Pretoria, so thank you. So it will be presented on the web by here, but here you have your presentation. Go down, but you ask slide.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I will try to go a bit fast. So thank you very much. First of all, I'm Javier Aranceta, as the transparency indicates. I'm the head of Centro Stirling, that is the research center of cooperative and other 6 industrial cooperatives. Just a first question concerning the program itself, that sometimes makes difficult to proceed with the project. This project is supposed to be launched in the 5th of July. Today, two of the countries that forms this consortium have not received their countries okay. So that means that we can't sign the consortium agreement. That means that we don't have money, and even though we are here. So that's just something that should be tried to arrange between or among the countries to accelerate or to uniform the procedures to avoid these kind of situations. Thank you very much. But anyway, so the project, Solar Induce, okay, is a consortium with these 7 partners, 2 European countries, 2 African countries, and with several agencies, of course. And the leader is this company, Copresi. There's a particularity as a manufacturing company. It's a cooperative, like the rest of the companies that form the owners of this central stream belongs to a Mondragon Corporation. It's a big industrial Spanish group formed by cooperative. That means that the main aim of these companies not only money or products or whatever, but they have very important social commitments. Well, the aim of the project that is being clear in this transparency is to demonstrate innovative, high performance and cost-effective solar off-grid cooking and refrigeration solutions. Focusing, of course, in local content of manufacturing materials and employability. I will comment later. The leader, Copresi, as a cooperative, has already experience in not the same project, but quite similar projects in other countries. Well, the relevance versus the Mars points is, of course, there are lots of people in Africa with lack of access to clean cooking that require a lot of time to collect the biomass or the dung to make the meals. And there are lots of people that lose a lot of food due to the conditions and that they cannot be stored in cool areas. Well, this is the consortium, okay? José Ignacio Mujica, that is the technological responsible of the Copresi, couldn't assist. That's why I'm here in front of you, and the rest of the members of the consortium. Well, there are 3 main challenges in this project. The first one, we can address the development of systems for domestic cooking that will be powered by free solar energy. There are already quite cheap devices. We are talking about induction cooking in the market, but the robustness and the reliability of these devices is really under a huge question. And these devices that could be bought from low-cost countries don't contribute at all into local employment and empowerment. The second challenge to address to develop an effective refrigeration cycle powered by solar energy during the day and through passive refrigeration overnight. Well, if we achieve that, of course, we will be able to reduce the actual food losses, but a really important quantity. I'm not sure if that big, but sure a lot. And the third challenge, even if it's addressed by number 1, the develop the green cooking solution based on induction technology that is much more efficient and more economical compared with other kind of solution. We expect to have a functional induction cooker with a 10% of efficiency improvement compared with we can find now in the market. This is an overall picture of what we pretend to do. This is the induction hub that it's now being manufactured and sold by Copresi. The idea is that to make just one of these, focus with very special conditions in such a way that the rest of the elements that must be put here to convert this component or this system into a fully operational cooking system could be done in the countries that will be used for the demonstration, or even further for the market. And for the solar refrigeration, it's supposed to be based on natural hydrogels from local mucilage, okay, and this using local material. Well, the rest of the aspects of this project is very much similar to the ones we have already seen in previous project. The idea finally is try to put on the market a real solution for cooking and refrigeration, because behind there are real industrial people that want to make a market for this. And if we can obtain this, for sure, they will strengthen relationships, not only between or among the research centers at the universities that are in this project, but also industrial and commercial partnerships in local areas. Well, these are the map numbers in which the consortium may have some interest, but I can assume that the presentation will be available for all of us. Anyway, I can answer any question that you have about it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much for this presentation. Is there some question? Yes. You have the microphone. Okay, so first.
Okay, I go. Thank you for your nice presentation. I have a technical question regarding the system you are using. You are using like PV, you get the electricity, you charge batteries, and then you use the electricity for induction.
For induction cooking, yes,
yeah.
you're right.
But many in Africa, people do not have this special.
Yes, I know what you are doing.
Thick metal to induce. So is it better to look for resistive or like Li square? So you just put you heat by visual.
Yeah, I know.
Copper losses.
I know you were talking. Well, there's a question concerning security. These other kind of fires are really hot, and the fact is that one of the important challenges of one of the partners, the Nigerian partner, is how to adapt the existing pots and pans to be available to be cooked with induction. Most of them could be based on aluminum or copper. So there is some kind of intermediate device that could be that could allow this kind of pot and pans to be used with solar induction. There's a challenge there because we have some experience with that, and if you don't take care, that's why we must, let's say, adapt the present cooking elements to the power and the detection of some hot spots and so on. But that's one of the important issues to be addressed by the Nigerian partner. Sure.
It's not a technical question, just I would like to understand, how are you working together with all the other members of the group? How do you communicate? How do you work together?
Well, till now, mostly by using this kind of teleconferences and so on. Or
no, I mean, do you find that you are there is a dynamic in collaboration together?
Well, by the moment, as I have commented, if the project is approved, but we are having problems with two of the countries in order to have the national approvals. We don't have the consortium agreement, so there are some problems with the money and especially with the company. So by the moment, we are having just conferences based on internet and so on, and try to challenge the objectives, how to put the technical issues and so on. But this very slowly comparing what we expected.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this presentation. So you will have now just precise that we understood and we listened to the expectation of the consortium regarding funding agencies, and we will do our best to engage the contract. The last, but not the least, the last on biomass transformation, the Sungari project, which will be presented. It's a project led by UK, and it will be presented by Mamse Diale, who's there. Welcome, Mamse. So you will present, it's a project on the transformation of biomass, go ahead, of agriculture product for food. So you have the floor, so you can change the slide here, but you have to ask also for the web conference to change the slide. So you have the floor for
Good afternoon, colleagues, and our funders and everyone else. Thank you so much for allowing us to share thank you so much for allowing us to share what we are trying to do. As research is always a risk, you just don't know whether you're going to get it or not. And I want to thank the South African Department of Science and Innovation for the great support that they're always giving us as researchers, and the South African National Energy Development Agency for just sending us many emails and asking us to do some things. As researchers, we forget sometimes about this management work. I'm going to present on behalf of the coordinator, who is Aditya Pamar, who is in the UK, but he cannot present himself. So I have a colleague here, Naushat Mohammed, who is also in the food science at the University of Pretoria. And it is very interesting to see that we can actually address the food, energy, water nexus in this kind of research. So the other partners here are the University of Kassel and Simply Solar Technology from Germany, University of Pretoria, University of Limpopo in South Africa, University of Lome in Togo, and the University of Greenwich. The aim of the project is to develop a modern energy cooking service based on solar cooking using photovoltaics and concentrated solar power for gari processing in West Africa. Let me just explain a little bit of what this gari is. Gari is a powder that is extracted from the plant called cassava. People from West Africa, don't destroy me if I make a mistake on that. From the plant cassava, people take cassava and dry it. And after drying it, they crush it into powder so that it can be used like our maize meal. So the technological approach will be highly scalable and transferable to other countries in the region to process different food-based maize, yam, plantain, and sweet potato. And I hope I'm already answering our colleague there and the great funder. So we are addressing the MA5 and MA6 processes and appliances for productive uses in both agriculture and industry, rural industries productivity, where actually women and are the ones who are fully involved in such rural industry. And then we're looking at socioeconomic development of communities that live in and in off and poor grid connectivity. So the MA6 is innovation solutions for priority domestic uses. The project will provide safe and efficient cooking services at the domestic level and the SME level. The key challenges addressed by this project is that in Africa here, there are more than 700 million people who do not have access to modern energy cooking services. And almost all the gari produced in West Africa relies on firewood or fossil fuels at the household and small enterprises. The project will help reduce the drudgery for girls and women and improve their opportunities socially and in socio-economic, increase their socio-economic power and the health outcome. For you imagine the way this gari is being dried, using fossil fuels, that is, you are taking in a lot of this carbon dioxide and smoke that comes out of that. So we are looking at reducing greenhouse gases and reducing deforestation and land degradation. And we are also addressing the affordable and clean energy for all according to SDG 7. So the expected midterm results are that there will be 3 units, test units, solar powered, at demonstration sites in Togo and local gari processors and cassava processing equipment, manufacturers capacity building workshops to be completed, Sangari startup established at the Business Incubation Center at the University of Lomé in Togo. End of the project in 2025, we expect individual health improved health and well-being of many people, especially reducing respiratory diseases, new employment creation and increased productivity for rural industries and those simple industries, and local capacity building in Africa and awareness of clean energy, especially there in West Africa. So the further expected results are increased productivity in the formal sector, food preservation and reduced post-harvest losses. I've just spoken about the greenhouse gases, drudgery and employment, and further, which main risks of failure during project implementation, that the funding may be reduced or increased in material costs as a result of the work that Russia is doing, you know, making all of us to suffer so much. And the human resource risk, for example, in some cases you find that you are hiring someone to work and then they don't get the visa that they require to go to those different countries. And even here at home, we are struggling a lot with employing different postdocs, particularly coming from Africa, and maybe some communication problems between stakeholders and all of that. And we expect an AU-EU research development cooperation that will be so good to reduce the carbon footprint in the whole of Africa and address what we produce, we propose to address in our work. Thank you so much.
So I will ask Julio Carneiro to come to the floor to present High Africa projects coordinated by Portugal, by you. You are the coordinator. So again, you have here the slides and you go down, but you have to ask, don't forget to ask to change the slide because it's not connected. So you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Hope you can hear me well, everybody on site and online. So the first speaker this morning asked us to be radical. And I think we're pretty radical with this project because we are proposing a whole new renewable technology to be applied in Africa, and it is based on natural hydrogen. And most of all, it's actually of African inspiration. Could you put the next slide, please? So what you see there in this small movie is actual natural hydrogen burning in a well that they drilled in Mali. And they've been doing this in Mali since 2012. They have by now 25 wells, I think around 25 wells where they found natural hydrogen. And what you see in the map with all those dots is the places in the world where natural hydrogen was found at a concentration above 10%. And almost all of that was found by chance. They were not looking at it. You'll notice there aren't that many points in Africa, but that's because we have not been looking at it. In fact, the geology tells us that Africa, and especially sub-Saharan Africa, should have a high potential for natural hydrogen. That is, hydrogen that is from a geological source, nothing to do with the gray, blue, or green hydrogen that is manufactured. So it's completely different. It's a renewable and a resource that results from interaction of rocks and water. Next slide, please. So this is our consortium. I am the coordinator from Converge. Converge is a spin-off company from the University of Évora in Portugal. We have 2 research centers from Germany, the Leibniz Institute for Applied Geophysics and the Fraunhofer Institute for Energy Economics, a university from Morocco, University Mohamed I from Oujda, and 1 university from Mozambique, Eduardo Mondlane University. We have the General Directorate for Mining and Geology in Mozambique and 2 South African universities, the University of Pretoria and Limpopo, and then University of Lomé, also from Togo. What do we aim to do then? Well, first of all, we want to map and find out which natural hydrogen resources exist in the 4 target countries, or more precisely, in 4 promising regions of these 4 target countries: Mozambique, Morocco, South Africa, and Togo. But not only that, we also want to understand what could be the socio-economic impact of those resources that could exist in these countries, and try to find business models to move this into a technology that local populations can use. And apart from that, we want to solve a major issue about regulation and licensing, because there is no such thing in almost any country in the world, except in Australia. That's the only place in the world where natural hydrogen is nowadays regulated. You can go there and buy a license to go and explore for natural hydrogen. We are focusing on MAR3 and MAR4 because we think it's essentially at this stage of the technology readiness level, it's essentially 4 standalone and off-grid systems. And and as I said, it provides reliability of power supply. Natural hydrogen is being constantly produced in depth, and it has been so for millions of years. It's just that it has not been used. It is essentially to be used at local sources for energy communities, and it produces no greenhouse gases. Obviously, it produces water, and moreover, in terms of, for instance, comparing to the green hydrogen, it reduces competition between utilization of water if you want to produce and energy if you want to produce green hydrogen, in which you need lots of water. Next slide, please. So this is our workflow. Not going through this in detail. We have four promising regions. Each local team will study 1 promising region. Our approach is essentially initially a geological and geophysical research, pretty standard thing, but then building on that, we have policy and regulatory analysis, which I said before, it's very important for us. We will do some research on local energy systems and their economics, and we have also an ambitious capacity building strategy, because even in the geoscience community, I'm a geologist myself, even in the geoscience community, a lot of people have never heard about natural hydrogen, sometimes also called white hydrogen in that color system that we have. Next slide, please. So key challenges. Well, the key challenges is that we are not sure. 1 minute. Okay, thank you. I shouldn't have looked at it that way. So we don't know how many resources are there. We have this major uncertainty. There are no established methodologies for exploring for hydrogen. We have to solve that issue, and no regulatory measures in place. Already said that. Technical capacity and awareness is very low, and there are no social economic studies at all done in any parts of the world. By the mid-term project, we hope to have identified the existing natural hydrogen resources in the 4 regions, established the exploration methodology, and have done a series of capacity building and raising awareness workshops with stakeholders, but also within the projects. We did the first workshop last month. By the end of the project, so roadmaps, we hope to have established roadmaps for exploration and exploitation in those target countries. And for two of them, those most promising, we hope to have done a technical economic analysis, a detailed technical economic analysis, and developed business models. We also want to establish what is the complementarity between this natural hydrogen and green hydrogen. Next slide. So outcomes, at least in 2 regions, those with the highest potential, actually establishing natural exploration hydrogen programs. At least 2 regions to have increased the share of renewables using natural hydrogen, and also have business models developed and validated by local entrepreneurs or companies and anything like that. At country scale, at least 2 countries include natural hydrogen in their mining laws, at least 2 countries to implement programs for characterization of natural resources and in their agenda. Next slide. I'll have to wrap up, apparently. So what we want really is, first of all, to have some knowledge transfer between researchers in Europe and researchers in Africa about this new renewable energy. But we will also want to create the basis for companies in Europe and companies in Africa to actually lead in this new field, in this new technology in the energy field. What are our consortium members interested? Well, we want to, of course, in terms of clustering, we want to connect with the other MAR3 and MAR4 projects, but also MAR1. We want to understand what, in terms of mapping, what other researchers are doing. Capacity building is very important for us, already mentioned. Acquisition of data on socioeconomic conditions and socioeconomic modeling. Those are things I'm very interested. And next slide, please. And this was our workshop last month, and I think I'm done with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And sorry to keep the question for after the presentation, the whole presentation. So we are going now to 2 projects regarding solar cells enhancement, increasing the efficiency for the solar spectrum. 2 projects led by France.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. My name is Conchi Ania. Wait, if I can. You can see, yes, my name is Conchi Ania, and I am the coordinator of this project, which is entitled Nanosolar Cells, which is composed of 5 partners. I will introduce them very briefly. The first one is as the coordinators. We are a SAMTI laboratory belonging to CNRS in Orleans in France, and we are in charge of the synthesis of the materials and the introduction of our materials in solar cells. The second partner is the URES that is coming from Algeria, and they are also in charge of the performance of the solar cells and of the construction of a prototype for the validation in outdoor conditions. Then there is Mansour University, also from Egypt, which will be in charge of the characterization of the electrodes and the hybrid materials before we put them in the prototype. Then it's a partner from Morocco, which will also be in charge of the testing of the prototype of the solar cells in outdoor conditions. And the university, George Azaki Technical University from Romania, which will be mainly in charge also of the preparation of materials. The main objective of this project is to improve the efficiency of conventional photovoltaic solar cells by modifying slightly the composition of the electrodes. So we want to incorporate a coating layer to these already existing solar cells, which is using different photoemissive materials, which will be prepared by two of the partners. These materials are either carbon-based or polymers. And the idea is to improve the efficiency by recuperating the UV photons, which are not usually employed for the light efficiency in these solar cells. So you have to consider that most of the solar devices, they currently use 50% of the solar light. And in case of the UV fraction, which is not used, there is still a possibility to gain 30% of increase in efficiency of the solar cells. So the objective of our project is that we expect to increase the conversion efficiency at least between 2 and 5% if we improve the exploitation of the UV light. Then another important aspect of this material is that we will integrate the materials in a large dimension. Okay, can you not hear me?
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, is that we will
your presentation on full screen, please, because it's a little smaller.
I think it is on full screen, or this is.
No, it's not.
Wait, maybe now?
Yes, now it's better.
Oh, fantastic. So yeah, another objective of our project is to construct a prototype based on the best materials that we will integrate in the electrodes of these existing solar cells in order to test the performance in real conditions, in outdoor illuminations, and this will be done also in what we call the aggressive environmental conditions in African countries, in Algeria and in Morocco. So the relevance to the roadmaps of the call are mainly in topic 1, and also because the challenge is to integrate these materials in and to balance the performance considering the strong irradiation conditions, also the presence of atmospheric pollutants, and also some other conditions such as the dust, wind, and so forth. Then the key challenges are summarized in here, where you can see that it's to improve the solar UV photonic down conversion based on the materials that we want to prepare. Also to establish the best operative parameters to incorporate these photonic conversion layers in existing solar cells to assure that we have an increased efficiency and exploring the aging of the materials and also the durability in these outdoor conditions in the prototypes that will be installed in African countries. Regarding the expected results at mid-term, I have just summarize here the 3 most important: to increase the efficiency of the solar cells in at least 3%, to construct this prototype based on the materials that we are already working on that, and also to contribute to train young researchers in the different partners through the collaboration in joint PhD thesis, which is something that we have already started in the project. For the end of the project, expected results by 2025 are to improve at least 10% the lifetime of the solar cells incorporating these coating layer, to increase also 5% the cost of the modules fabricated like this, and to improve the stability of the cells when we operate in outdoor conditions. For the expected outcomes in case of success, yeah, I'm almost done. The expected outcomes are summarized in here: the 10% increased lifetime, and to achieve 5% of at least of the reduced cost, because we also aim to use some of the precursors which are locally available in different countries. The risk of failure, I have identified scientific risks which are related with the low efficiency of the materials and some difficulties that we might encounter to prepare the coating of the layers, and also some managerial risks that have already been identified by other projects, such as the effects of pandemic or the mismatch of the different funding agency. Our contribution to the this AU and European Union cooperation is based on the innovation, our capacity building by the transfer of the training of the personnel, and also the cooperation in the different partners. And regarding the clustering activities, these are the main topics that we would like to interact in some other clustering activities. And I would also like to mention that we are already initiating some clustering activities with other projects which are not belonging to LEAP-RE, and one of them is this European project funded by the Marie Curie Action, which is Infinite Cell, which is helping us to in contact with industrial partners which are fabricating solar cells in order to incorporate our coatings. So this is, I will start sharing, and this is the presentation of the project.
Thank you very much, Conchi, for this presentation, and you remain in the time. Thank you also for that, and we see that your interest for clustering and sharing. We'll speak about that tomorrow, of course, again. So we will go now. We'll come back to the projects QD-SOC because we found Raphael Schneider. Raphael, you're online right now.
I am online.
Could you hear us, and could you?
Can you hear me?
Microphone is open.
My microphone is open. Can you hear me?
Okay, we hear you. You have you share your own screen.
I'm sharing my screen.
Thank you very much to keep on time.
Thank you. A project called environmentally friendly colloidal quantum dots for high performance solar cells. Quantum dots are small semiconductor nanocrystals that may act as photosensitizer to absorb almost the whole part of the energy spectrum of solar energy spectrum, and to increase the efficiency of photovoltaic cells. The project is developed in collaboration between 4 partners, University of Liège in Belgium. I am the coordinator from Université de Lorraine in France. 2 Moroccan universities are also involved, Mohammed V University in Rabat and Mohammed VI Polytechnic University, and 1 University of South Africa, and my colleague Nosifo Molito should be present with you in the audience. So the aim of the project is to develop new quantum dot sensitized solar cells. Key point: using heavy-free nanocrystals as absorbing materials in the visible and in the infrared regions to optimize the use of the solar spectrum. In France, we are going to develop quantum dots based on silver, indium, zinc selenide. And my colleague Nosifo Molito will develop perovskite type QDs containing cesium, tins, and halogens. The other layers of that solar cells will be engineered in Morocco, that dense titania layer. And in Belgium, they will engineer a porous titania layer in which the dots will be infiltrated. The relevance is to find new materials and better design photovoltaic cells to make more efficient solar panel and decrease their cost for generating clean and renewable electricity, and develop devices that will allow not only an autonomous but also decarbonated production of electricity, and thus ensure energy dependence. a key challenge addressed by the project. Develop new synthesis of both of the types of nanocrystals, optimize the electronic and optical properties to make these nanocrystals highly efficient for use in QD synthesized solar cells. Optimize the structure of each of that layers, dense and porous titanium layers, using magneton sputtering and or using wet-based templating strategies. Control the structure of that layers to form continuous and highly condensed interpenetrating nanocanals, allowing to maximize QDs to titanium charge injection and minimize recombination. And study the mechanism of that processes by examining excited states and charge transfers. We expect at the end of
could you put your screen, your presentation in full mode and full screen mode, please?
Yes. What we expect at the end of that project, achieve power conversion efficiency higher than 15%, which would constitute a real challenge for heavy metal-free photovoltaic cells. Try to place Africa and Europe at the forefront of renewable energy technologies worldwide and enable market breakthrough. And finally, develop reliable standalone systems architecture that can be easily and widely developed and deployed in off-grid African rural and remote areas. The expected outcomes in case of success by around 2030, develop new materials, nanomaterials, better design photovoltaic cells to make more efficient solar panels and lower the cost of generating clean and renewable electricity. Enable the development of devices that will allow both autonomous and decarbonated production of electricity. Engineering of reliable standalone system architecture that can be easily deployed in off-grid African rural and remote areas, and sustain significant progress towards a highly efficient, large-scale, low-cost, and flexible photovoltaic cell solution. A few problems that we may encounter during the implementation of that project. Inadequate titania QD interfaces, not reach that goal of 15% photocurrent efficiency, change in optoelectronic properties in the cells during the assembly, and try to develop a small prototype of say 25 square centimeter. Our contribution is the following. Solar-powered electricity production will become a major industry worldwide. Thus, it's important for Europe and Africa to develop that research and development capacity in this field and position the academic research as world-leading to ensure that companies choose Europe and Africa as a location for research and industry and manufacturing for the future clean industry production. The project involves a young researcher, 3 PhD students that will be recruited by French, Moroccan, and South African partners, and that this researcher will become the future leaders on that topic in Africa. Of course, we are highly motivated and we will try to find other financial support. For example, a PhD between France, Morocco, South Africa, and Belgium. Find programs financed by the CNRS in France, FNRC in Belgium, to increase the mobility between researchers and strengthen the collaboration. Of course, all partners in that project even if it's focused on the synthesis of nanocrystals and the architectural design of titanium layers, are open for collaboration related to photovoltaic solar cells. And we are open sharing knowledge and developing new projects. Thank you for your
Thank you. We will keep the question again for the end of the presentations, if we have some time. Now we will split to slightly change in the order of presentation to the projects Sol Charge E, which is a project. We are now on the three last projects dedicated on productive use of solar energy. So the project Sol Charge is addressing transport, mobility issues in the perspective of the development of electrical vehicles in Africa. So the project is coordinated by Germany.
Okay, good. Then in view of time, I will switch directly to my first slide. Yes, as explained, I'm representing the consortium of Sol Charge E, coordinated by Technical University of Munich. As you can see here, the consortium is consisting of 4 partners, 2 from Europe and 2 from Africa. I'm from CINES and also representing the steering committee, heading the steering committee of the consortium. Then we also have Stellenbosch University from South Africa. And also the Technical University of Adama from Ethiopia. So to explain briefly, the 2 African sites are coordinated, the case study is coordinated by the 2 African partners. And then from Europe, coordinator is Technical University of Munich, and has several large experience of several projects in the African context and also in e-mobility, while from CINES we are bringing more expertise on the photovoltaic technology for the concept we're developing. And talking about the concept, the aim of the project, to explain you briefly, you can see also the image here, is to develop, build and pilot a novel standalone solar charging station for electric vehicles, which will comprise the central component of a decentralized transportation hub in the African context. We will develop and pilot this in 2 different case studies, quite different also user profiles, one in Ethiopia and one in South Africa. In terms of addressed mass, I pointed out the 3 main most relevant ones. Here you can see one is in relation to mapping joint research and innovation actions for future renewable energy systems development. The second one is regarding end of life and second life management and environmental impact of renewable energy components. And I would say the most directly relevant for us is the smart standalone systems, exactly on what we are aiming to develop in this project. The next slide about the key challenges we address. I identified 5 main challenges here. Is one regarding to facilitate access to sustainable electricity, especially in rural areas like in Ethiopia. The uptake of reliable mobility in these areas, recycle and reuse. We address aspects about optimizing the end-of-life management of photovoltaic and battery components. We aim also to address cost barriers for this kind of solar charging, PV-based solar charging systems, especially for certain end users like small farmers, for example, in Ethiopia. And as a kind of, let's say, transversal challenge for all the activities, we aim also to improve public awareness, engagement, and capacity building on the topic in the context of this project. Expected results, you can see here 7 main results we expect. Now, one is the system itself that will be optimized for local production, for local user profiles, and for circular economy principles. A business model based on circular principles for the local stakeholders. A sustainable investment case for impact investors. Local capacity buildings for the different stakeholders involved in the topic, in the project. And the holistic assessment, meaning that we not only design and implement the system, but also we perform a detailed life cycle analysis and life cycle and cost analysis, while we also aim to have a strong user involvement, especially addressing gender aspects and the female participation in the project, in the project's life cycle. And we also plan several small side projects, what we call them intercultural student projects. In brief, expected outcomes in case of success of the project in more long term towards 2030. We expect that the system design, hardware and software parts will be fully functional, optimized and scalable, not only then to be used for these two sites but also to be replicable for other sites in Africa. We expect to have a complete circular business model deployed and validated. The same stands for an established value and supply chain, including operations and maintenance of this kind of systems deployed. We expect to have up and running training activities, curricula, capacity building of local professionals in the African context in collaboration with the European partners, and some others related also to our more direct objectives. As you can see, we are addressing gender dimension to attract interest for new potential case studies in Africa and potential replicator sites, and also to really reach out and increase public awareness for end users and local communities in Africa. Some of the risks that we identified here, you can see on the right. I would say the most relevant risk is what you can see about the reluctance of users to participate in the pilot field tests. Some difficulties we expect to source actually relevant components for our system, and regarding the quality standards of second life components. Also something very important and quite challenging in Europe already about the regulations and the hurdles related to importing second life components and using them in the field. And the same, some regulatory hurdles to import the electrical car in South Africa. And to close my presentation, some contribution we expect to the project in the African European R&D cooperation. We aspire a two-way knowledge transfer from Europe and from Africa towards the two sides in different aspects, like the development, the design phase, and also the photovoltaic and battery technology. We aim to contribute to better and more reliable access to sustainable electricity and e-mobility in the African continent and in addressed locations. I mentioned here that what we plan to do is everything in accord with the relevant multilateral agreements, as I mentioned here, some of them, and to also establish a strong communication channel to not only develop but also maintain after the project local capacity building activities for the different stakeholders and local professionals, and also to present at the end of the project the successful intercultural student projects. And at the end, in relation to clustering activities, later this week, another partner of our project will also present some more details. But what I address here is two things. We are open to share to other projects our return of experience and know-how from the operation monitoring of our system, but also to receive equally return of experience from other relevant projects and systems but also some other relevant MARS, as I mentioned here, for example, the smart grid for off-grid applications at different scales, and also innovative solutions for domestic applications. As I said, my colleague from Stellenbosch University later this week will also join the clustering event, and will have, I think, more details to discuss with all of you on site or remotely. So thanks a lot for the flexibility in the planning, giving me this slot to present, and yeah, I'm happy to join the team.
Very much, Johannes Tsanakas. I think we will have question, but we will try to manage that later, maybe if not today, during the forum. So we will come back, if I may say, to the two last projects to be presented. The next one is MG Farm, which is a project coordinated by France, but which will be presented by LEAP-RE Stakeholder that I met today. So you have the floor. No, just you have the floor of 8 minutes. Okay. So you could follow your presentation here, but you ask.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm coordinating the project called MG Farms. I am Lotfi Bagli, and with my colleague Serge Federici from the University of Lorraine, we are the project coordinators. So our project is a consortium of 11 partners from Europe, from Algeria, from Morocco, and from Germany. So there is University of Lorraine, there is University of Tlemcen, and a Renewable Energy Development Center from Algeria. We have also EOCorp, which is a private company from France. And from the Germany side, we have TU Berlin with 2 labs, one in social and human science, and one specialized EET in batteries technology. And you have also a private company, a small startup company, Microenergy International. We have from Morocco side, École Nationale des Sciences Appliquées d'Oujda, the Green Energy Park, and International University of Rabat. So the aim of our project is the development of smart microgrids based on renewable energy system to support the sustainable development of energy, water, and agricultural sector. Based on the load profile and storage strategies of modern and sustainable agricultural practices, the system serves typical requirements such as pumping, irrigating, and cooling. We address some mass, the installed digitalized renewable energy microgrids and smart storage system will have a measurable impact on MIR1 by contributing to the development of a database research and education framework for the integration of smart grids. So this is for MR4 in the MENA region. We will conduct experimental studies, so we'll have experimental results and enhanced local capacity on how the digitalized RE microgrids and SSS will enable the connected farms to increase their production to save water and energy. The key challenges of these projects are mainly we are bringing the plug and play concept of microgrids. This means that you can connect to the new grid some farms without any manual change in the manual settings. So even if you are in grid forming or grid following, so the system will have to operate by itself. And we also will address the energy management and dynamical stability that are keystones in stabilizing and having a grid that is stable and that can work without any manual intervention. We will have some artificial intelligence and IoT and smart metering for the data monitoring. Also, we will include the blockchain technology to code the energy packet transaction between the operators. We will have validations of our power electronic technology for this system, those smart storage and the energy management system at TRL4 in the European labs, but also on TLR6 on site in Algeria and Morocco, within the farms and the dwellings in real condition. So our expected results by 2023, we will have all the data collection and the analysis framework that will be set. Also the analysis of the energy, the water, the agricultural policies and strategies in both Algeria and Morocco. Also the modeling and the designing of the optimized energy, water, and material flow within the farm. And by the end of the project, we will have to design the prototypes, the microgrid, the battery, and the data interface, do the procurement, the installation of the equipment on sites. And also we have the training of data collectors, the farmers, and microgrid users. Monitoring water, energy consumption, and agricultural production in farms, and also the communication and stakeholder engagement. In this program, we have also 3 PhD theses, 2 that are financed by the funds of the LEAP-RE. So we will have these people will have to defend their thesis, and we will write journal papers and participate to international conferences. So so the baseline study of the agricultural practices and the socio-economic environment of this participating and data will be analyzed using the appropriate simulation models for the purpose of extrapolation. We hope that we will improve the food and energy security in Africa and contribute to the growth of agricultural exports. So we will provide new prosumers type energy production and consumption model at the nexus of energy, water, agriculture, and digitalized in rural area. So what are the main risks? The first one is the on-site procurement of some parts, some electronic parts and batteries. This can be an issue. Also for the PhD students coming to Europe, we have for example, in France, we have ZRR, regime zone, visa issues. We also have problems with local energy policies that perhaps will not allow us if we want to go into grid connection. For instance, now we are in islanded microgrids. So to conclude, we have the how we contribute to this European and African exchange. This is because we are exchanging ideas, research in common. So we are building new relationship. And we want to participate with other persons present in this room into this cluster, so building new connections, and we discuss on these items. So thank you.
So we have now the last project to be presented from this Pillar 1 project presentation. This is the project Let's Solve, addressing the issue of energy and water, dealing to water purification. I see Catherine. I was not sure you were on site, so yes, I'm very glad you're there. So you have the floor. So again,
so here? Okay.
Yes, you were here, but this is not connected.
Thank you. So Let's Solve stands for Enabling Clean and Sustainable Water through Smart UV and LED, disinfection, and solar energy utilization. My name is Katrin Biriet. I'm one of the partners from the Institute of Social Research and Social Economics in Germany. Our project coordinator is Irina Mocanu in Romania. And we have also partners from Finland, Togo, and Algeria. The aim of our project is to provide, especially for remote areas, a smart off-grid standalone water decontamination solution, which should easily fit into a backpack. And we address mostly MAR 3 by supporting remote areas and communities. So here in this context, suburban areas in Algeria and the nomads of the Sahara. And in addition to that, in Togo's rural areas, where also clean water is a huge challenge, but I think we all know that clean water supply is all over the world still a big challenge and therefore should be addressed intensively. Our system is powered by renewable energies and therefore also adapted to the needs of the end users, because we as the social science partners follow the user-centered approach, and therefore we take into consideration from the beginning of the project, what do the users and the people need from this system. And of course, we also focus on the needs and potential resources at regional or national level, which is MAR1. And also we want to progress the European and African R&I cooperation on renewable energy sources. Here, next slide, please. Oh yeah, you have it too. Here you see a drawing. I will not go into detail here. It's a design drawing of our later system. The filling capacity is 20 liters. And we have interconnected several pre-filters, and we have two water reservoirs or like water containers, each of one can take 20 liters. And in the first section, there is this pre-filter, and then we move the water to the second container. You realize I'm not a technician. And we have interconnected also some ordinary active carbon filters, and we try to keep the pace of the water flow from in the beginning 5 liters to at least 2 liters per minute. The solar panel is an energy source, and we have an additional battery for energy storage. And in addition to that, we want to apply some digital and power electronics to perform tasks like tracking and localization, supervision, and maybe even to communicate with the users. And as I said, all should fit into a backpack to be portable and easy to use. Next slide. What are our key challenges? Of course, the development and testing and optimization of the UV irradiation module, as well as the solar energy module. And that data processing is also a big challenge, and to design and develop the control software. We want to design and create an enhanced wireless positioning and tracking algorithm in order to keep track not only of the water sources, but also of the habits and the ways that people take to get their water. We are planning to perform pilots in realistic environments in Lomé region, Algeria, in Tipasa and Blida, and in the Baragan region in Romania. And this will be also very challenging and interesting. And we will get lots of information out of those pilot studies. We want to have an affordable system in the end, which is at the same time usable and acceptable by the end users by including their needs and requirements directly into the design process. And we want to establish a business plan for the further exploitation of the latter results, even after the project. Our midterm expected results by the end of 2023 are that the system is fully designed and everything is lab tested. We have beta versions of the modules, and we have the report on the user needs. And by the end of the project in 2025, we want to have an integrated and especially validated LEAD system, the results of the pilots, and a business plan for the future commercial exploitation. Maybe quickly going to the risks then, and skipping the outcomes of 2030, because of course, we want to provide a reliable system here, which is usable in most all areas of the world. The main risks here are that the availability of the electronic components due to market instabilities, especially at the moment, this is a big risk, or that we reach only a lower disinfection performance as planned. And in addition to that, partners could quit the project or could underperform. Here we're facing a severe obstacle at the moment because our partner from Togo has experienced a cut in his accepted funds of almost 2/3, which is quite challenging for all of us and for the consortium to plan the project. The system could not meet the users' expectations, and local policies could also have a bad impact or hinder the project's progress. Like by, as I said, by funding cuts, or also like formal stuff like visa applications. Yeah, we contribute with our system to the cooperation of the European African Network. And yeah, I think of particular interest could be here our results regarding the end user inputs and the needs and satisfaction of our pre and post-pilot studies, studies, and also the algorithms for localization, positioning, and tracking could be of particular interest, and the general LETSO system performance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Thank you, and sorry for this interruption. So we complete with the presentation of the Pillar 1, 13 projects of the first call, 2021 call. I know we are in the pressure on the time, so I will not say more things. Maybe I give the floor to Leonard to precise what is expecting right now for those who are online. So really, we have no time for question right now. I am sorry for that. I think they're supposed to have a break and maybe a photo here in Pretoria, but I will expect Siegfried. You want? I give you the floor. And so thank you to all the participants and to all the presenters.
Well, thanks, Francois. Thanks, colleagues, as well. Maybe we should first appreciate your patience. You've been with us till this far. We're slightly delayed. And as Francois has already said, we are not going to have a coffee break. We're going to move straight to restricted sessions. And from there, I think I have to announce where the rooms will be. And there is an energy summer school, which is taking place here. So this room is going to be divided into two. This side of the room is going to be the energy summer school. This side of the room is going to be the CCSC working group. Upstairs, there's going to be the Scientific and Ethics Advisory Board meeting. And those that are going to that meeting should follow me because I'll be leading that discussion. And I think because we are slightly delayed, we then agreed that the next session should start at 5 o'clock. So we're not going to start at 4:30. Well, we are already way beyond that. We'll start at 5 o'clock, 17 hours PM. And then I think the links are also there for those that are connecting online. And I don't know, maybe we should take a slight break because we have to partition the room and allow those that are going to assist us to partition the room to do their work. Thanks, colleagues.